Hey guys, tonight we explore a very strange beauty secret from American history. So before you get comfortable, please like this video and subscribe. I always love sharing these weird stories with you. Now dim the lights and just relax in your quiet room. And let's travel back to the past together. In the 1920s, in the bright city of Hollywood, women dreamed of the perfect thin body. And almost immediately, the beauty world gave them a new rule. Not a healthy rule, a very deadly one. After the First World War, American society changed very fast. Women did not want to wear heavy, tight dresses anymore. They wanted a completely new style. They wanted to be a flapper. A flapper was a popular young woman who wore short skirts and had a very flat, straight body. This was the ultimate dream. If you wanted to act in movies or go to nice parties, you needed this exact body shape, because the movie camera always makes a person look wider. And nobody in the entertainment business wanted to look wide. So a huge problem appeared for normal women. How do you get a completely flat stomach when you have a natural, healthy body? The answer was simple. You stop eating completely. But just stopping is very difficult. People naturally love food. People naturally need food to survive, which means the beauty experts had to invent a special plan. They called it the Hollywood 18-Day Diet. It sounds like a professional health program. It was not. It was a very fast way to destroy your health. And thousands of ambitious women followed it every single day. Here is where it gets really interesting. Let us look at what you actually have to do to get that tiny waist in 1928. You wake up early and prepare your food. For the morning meal, you eat exactly half a grapefruit and drink 1 cup of black coffee. Very light, very fresh, and also very useless for giving you energy. Then the middle of the day arrives. What do you do when you are starving? You do not eat a sandwich or a warm bowl of soup. You skip the meal completely. Instead, you take out 3 cigarettes and you smoke them. You smoke to kill the terrible pain in your empty stomach. Finally, the sun goes down and it is dinner time. You feel extremely tired. Your big prize for the night is 1 small boiled egg and, of course, another long cigarette. You must repeat this exact process for 18 long days. You do not eat fresh bread. You do not eat warm meat. You just drink coffee and breathe heavy smoke. That was the big magic trick. You replace real nutrition with fire and poison. Because in the minds of the beauty leaders back then, feeling hungry was just a silly weakness. And a cigarette was the perfect medicine to fix it. People actually believed that smoking was a very modern scientific way to control the human body. The smoke kept the mouth busy. It ruined the natural sense of taste. It made the brain completely forget about a nice, warm meal. And sadly, it actually worked. Women lost a lot of weight very fast. They looked fantastic in their expensive dresses. They fit perfectly into that strict, demanding Hollywood image. But there is always a hidden price when you fight against nature. A human body needs real fuel to stay alive. When you give it nothing but fruit juice and tobacco smoke, it starts to break down from the inside. The internal organs become very weak. The skin quickly loses its healthy color. The heart struggles to beat at a normal speed. These women were getting the perfect shape for the camera, but they were also quietly destroying their own lives. The famous diet did not make them healthy and strong. It just made them very beautiful ghosts. So a very obvious question appears. Who exactly created this strict diet? Did a famous American doctor write this health plan? Did careful scientists in clean white coats discover the magic power of tobacco? No, they did not. The truth is much darker than a simple medical mistake, because the most famous weight loss advice of the 1920s did not come from a hospital. It came from a business office, a very busy, very greedy office building in New York. The leaders of these big companies watched the new fashion trends closely. They saw that women desperately wanted to stay thin, and these men desperately wanted to get rich. So they decided to connect those two things together. At that time, the tobacco industry had a very big problem. Almost every man in the country already bought their products. The market for men was completely full. If you sell a product, you cannot force your customer to use twice as much every day. You need to find brand new customers. And exactly half of the population was not buying anything. Women. But there was a strong social rule back then. Polite, respectable women simply did not smoke. Society thought it was dirty. It was an activity for men in loud, dark places. The businessmen looked at millions of potential female customers. They saw a giant mountain of money sitting behind a locked door. They just needed a clever key to open it. Now, listen carefully to this part. In 1928, the American Tobacco Company decided to break that door down. They wanted to sell their Lucky Strike brand to every woman in the country. They hired very smart writers and famous artists to build a massive marketing campaign. A marketing campaign is a planned series of advertisements to sell something. They knew they could not just tell women to smoke for fun. They had to offer a powerful solution to a personal problem. So they used the biggest fear of the modern woman, the fear of getting fat. They created a brilliant and evil message. Reach for a Lucky instead of a sweet. This told women to pick up a cigarette every single time they wanted a piece of candy. They printed scary pictures of a double chin. A double chin is a heavy layer of fat under the face. They told young girls that eating sugar creates that ugly fat, but smoking keeps your face sharp and beautiful. They did not sell a cigarette. They sold confidence. The result of this clever plan was incredible. Women everywhere stopped buying fresh baked goods and sweet chocolates. They spent their money on little green boxes of Lucky Strike instead. They proudly smoked in coffee shops and living rooms. They completely trusted the bright advertisements in their expensive fashion magazines. The sales data was shocking. Because of this single marketing idea, the company's sales increased by more than 300% in just the first year alone. The businessmen made millions of dollars overnight. They successfully changed the daily habits of a whole nation. They convinced healthy people to fear normal food. They took a toxic plant, rolled it in paper, and sold it to women as a beauty tool. They dressed up a deadly habit, and they called it medicine. But the tobacco companies still had one massive problem. Selling cigarettes for weight loss was a great idea for the home. However, many women still felt too shy to smoke outside their houses. American society in the 1920s was very strict. If a woman smoked on a public street, people stared at her. People judged her. Police officers could even arrest her in some major cities. The businessmen realized a clear truth. A woman cannot buy 3 or 4 packs of cigarettes a day if she only smokes hidden in her small bedroom. They needed women to smoke on the busy streets, in the sunny parks, and at the big evening parties. They needed to destroy the old social rules completely. And they needed to do it quickly. So the American Tobacco Company hired a man named Edward Bernays. He was not a normal medical doctor. He was not a fashion designer. He was a professional public relations expert. Public relations means controlling how the normal public thinks and feels about a large company. Bernays was actually the nephew of Sigmund Freud, the famous Austrian psychologist. Because of his uncle, Bernays understood the secret desires of human minds perfectly. He knew that you cannot simply tell angry people to change their culture. You have to trick them into changing it themselves. Bernays looked closely at the women's rights movement. Women at that time were fighting very hard for their basic equality. They wanted the right to vote in elections, the right to work in offices, and the freedom to make their own life choices. Bernays saw this powerful burning energy, and he decided to steal it for his own profit. He planned his big trick for the beautiful spring of 1929. The chosen location was New York City. The specific event was the famous Easter Parade. The Easter Parade was a huge, colorful walking event on Fifth Avenue. Thousands of rich and famous people walked down the long street to show off their expensive new spring clothes. All the biggest newspaper writers and famous photographers were already there. It was the most important social event in the entire country. Bernays secretly hired a small group of young, beautiful women. He did not tell the newspapers that he actually worked for a tobacco company. Instead, he sent secret messages to the news reporters. He told them that a group of brave women's rights activists were going to protest at the parade. He promised them a very dramatic show. When the big Sunday arrived, Fifth Avenue was completely full of excited people. The sun was shining brightly. The cameramen were waiting carefully. Suddenly, the special group of young women stopped walking right in the middle of the crowded street. They stood closely together. They reached deep into their expensive fashion bags. And at the exact same moment, they all pulled out Lucky Strike cigarettes. They lit the white cigarettes and blew a giant cloud of gray smoke high into the air. The normal crowd was completely shocked. The photographers quickly took hundreds of pictures of the amazing moment. When the confused reporters asked the women what they were doing, they gave a perfect, planned answer. They called their cigarettes torches of freedom. A torch is a large, burning stick used for light, just like the famous one the Statue of Liberty holds in her hand. They said smoking a cigarette was a beautiful symbol of women's true independence and personal power. The crazy news spread everywhere. The very next morning, big newspapers across the United States printed the bold pictures on their front pages. The story was a massive success for the business. Young women all over the country saw these brave, stylish girls smoking openly on Fifth Avenue. They thought it was a real, powerful political protest. They thought buying a cigarette meant buying personal freedom. They thought they were fighting strongly against unfair rules. But the reality was completely different. There was no real political protest. There was no honest fight for equality. The entire event was just a clever, empty show. It was a fake story written by a rich man in a quiet business office just to sell more tobacco. The women thought they were holding a powerful torch of freedom. In reality, they were just holding a toxic product. It was all a lie. While millions of normal women bought this beautiful lie on the public streets, the real victims of the trend were already suffering in secret. If you look closely at the center of the American movie industry, during that time, you will find a very different, very sad story. Let us look at a famous silent movie star named Barbara La Marr. In the early 1920s, she was the ultimate symbol of beauty and success. She had large, dark eyes, a perfect face, and the incredibly thin body that every woman desperately wanted. When normal girls sat in the dark theaters and looked up at the big movie screen, they thought Barbara had a perfect, magical life. They wanted to be exactly like her. But a perfect image on a camera film does not mean a healthy life in reality. Barbara did not have that tiny waist because of good genetics or natural health. She had it because she completely stopped feeding herself. She was a true victim of the extreme Hollywood diet rules. To keep her job and her high status, she lived almost entirely on black coffee, tiny pieces of fruit, and endless packs of strong cigarettes. Whenever she felt the natural human need to eat, she simply lit another cigarette instead. Because in the movie business, back then, gaining even a small amount of weight meant losing your expensive contracts and your whole career. The rich studio bosses demanded absolute physical perfection, and they did not care how the actors achieved it. Now here is the darkest secret of the beauty industry. The human body is a complex biological machine, and a machine cannot run on smoke and empty promises. Because Barbara completely stopped eating normal warm meals, her body slowly started to fail from the inside. She had to work very long hours on movie sets under extremely hot lights. She had absolutely no natural energy from real food. To stay awake and keep performing, for the demanding cameras, she started taking strong medicines and dangerous illegal drugs. She was literally starving herself to death just to look beautiful for the demanding public. Her internal organs became weaker every single day. Her famous, bright energy slowly disappeared. The cigarettes did not give her any real freedom or power. Instead, they made her a weak, sick prisoner in her own failing body. Eventually, a starving body simply gives up the fight. Barbara's immune system, which is the body's natural defense against bad sickness, was completely destroyed by the severe lack of basic nutrition. She became very weak and caught terrible illnesses that a normal, healthy person could easily fight off. But she had no physical strength left to fight. The beautiful, famous movie star ended up lying in a quiet hospital bed, far away from the bright studio lights and the loud society parties. She did not look like a perfect fashion model anymore. She looked like a tired, broken human being who just needed a warm meal. She died after years of fighting a cruel system that told her that being perfectly thin was much more important than staying alive. She was only 29. At this point, we must ask a very serious question. Did those women really find freedom in a small white cigarette? Did they achieve their own dreams, or were they just following a secret plan? It is easy to think they were just making a personal choice. But in the 1920s, almost no choice was actually personal. Because when a whole nation starts doing the same strange thing, someone is usually pushing them from behind. This is where the idea of control becomes very clear. Edward Bernays did not just sell a product to women. He sold them a powerful emotion. He took a basic human desire for equality and connected it to a toxic plant. By calling cigarettes torches of freedom, he created a massive illusion. An illusion is a false idea that looks real. He made women believe that smoking was a bold act of power. But the real power was sitting in his quiet business office. He used their own movement to fill his own pockets. But the real secret is this. The American Tobacco Company did not care about the health of the flapper. They did not care about the rights of the workers. They only cared about the sales data. The "reach for a lucky instead of a sweet" campaign was a psychological trap. It used the fear of being fat to create a new expensive habit. They changed a social rule by replacing it with a commercial one. A commercial rule is a rule made to help companies sell things. They made women feel like they were in charge, but they were actually just moving like puppets in a giant show. So did they buy freedom? No. They bought cancer. Did they achieve the perfect life? No. They bought a broken body, like Barbara Lamar. The generals of the tobacco world were not fighting for a better society. They were fighting for legacy and wealth. And they used the bodies of young women as their main battlefield. Symbols, unlike people, do not suffer. but people suffer very much when they try to become a symbol. In the end, the only thing they preserved was the profit. 100 years have passed since those stylish women walked down the busy street holding burning cigarettes. We look at those old black and white pictures today, and we just shake our heads. We think we are much smarter now. We have advanced science and modern medicine to guide us. We know that replacing real food with toxic smoke is a completely terrible idea. We confidently believe that we have finally escaped that dangerous, silly trap of the past. But human nature does not change as fast as human technology does. The deep, painful desire to reach a perfect, impossible body shape is still exactly the same. Today, we do not reach for a small white cigarette when our stomachs feel empty. Instead, we reach for a small plastic medical pen. We inject expensive, powerful chemicals directly into our bodies to make our brains completely forget how to eat. We still listen to large, wealthy companies telling us that a quick medical product is the only true path to modern beauty and happiness. The physical tools have changed, but the psychological game is completely identical. We are still fighting a daily war against our own natural health just to follow a popular social trend. Because true control is not about selling one specific item to the public. It is about making normal people hate their own natural reflections in the mirror. And as long as that deep personal fear exists, a clever businessman will always be waiting in the shadows to sell us a brand new magic solution. A century ago, the ultimate answer for weight loss came in a cheap paper box. Today, it comes in a shiny medical needle. History rarely teaches us how to completely stop making deadly mistakes. It just gives us much more expensive ways to repeat them. Understanding these deep stories from the past is exactly why learning English is so important. English is not just about passing a difficult grammar test at school. It is a powerful key to discover the hidden truth of our world. When you improve your English, you can read original history. You can understand the secret tricks of clever companies. You protect your own mind from fake promises and bad trends. Every new word you learn makes you smarter and stronger. Do not worry if you make a few mistakes today. The journey of learning a new language takes time and patience, but the result is real freedom. Not the fake freedom of a burning cigarette, but the true freedom of knowledge. If you enjoyed exploring this dark secret from the 1920s with me, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel to practice your listening and learn more interesting stories in simple English. And please leave a comment below. Tell me, what do you think about the modern beauty trends today? Keep learning, keep questioning the world, and I will see you in the next video.